Hello everybody, welcome back to Toad Knight JRPG. Today we're doing a deep dive into Guardians of Azuma, the next chapter in the beloved fantasy farming RPG series Rune Factory. Rune Factory began in 2006 as what producers called Harvest Moon, where you wield a sword. The older games were literally called Rune Factory: A Fantasy Harvest Moon. It blends cozy farming life with action RPG adventure. The first two games, Rune Factory 1 and Rune Factory 2 on Nintendo DS, introduced us to this unique formula of planting turnips by day and slaying monsters by night. Now fast forward nearly 20 years, and the series is still going strong, now under Marvelous or Xseed in the West, and has amassed a dedicated following for its open-ended gameplay, charming world design, and endearing characters. Guardians of Azuma is an upcoming spin-off entry that promises to take the classic formula in a bold new direction. In this video, we'll cover everything we know so far, from official features and story details. So grab your farming tools and let's get ready to dance, because it's time to jump in. Guardians of Azuma transports the player to a never-before-seen land in the Rune Factory world, the eastern country of Azuma, a region inspired by traditional Japanese culture. The story kicks off with a cataclysmic event known as the Celestial Collapse, in which a colossal object crashes into Azuma. The impact shatters the land, mountains crumble, fields wither, and fragments of terrain are sent skyward and seaward. In the aftermath, the magical ruins that sustained life stopped flowing, and the gods of nature vanished, leaving the people hopeless and the land blighted. You awake amidst this chaos after a mysterious dream of dueling dragons, guided by a disembodied voice that urges you, "Accept the power of an earth dancer. Use this power to save the land." This sets the stage for your adventure as an earth dancer, a hero with the ability to harness nature's power through dance, destined to restore the hope of Azuma. You also have amnesia, just want to put that out there. Classic Rune Factory. I love that the main character always has amnesia. You'll choose from one of two protagonists, a duo of wandering heroes named Kaguya, the girl, and Subaru, the male, whose fates are intertwined. Both hail from a cold northern village in Azuma and set off on a mission to save their homeland. Kaguya is described as a calm, nature-loving soul who despises injustice, while Subaru is an easygoing stargazer who dislikes fighting but fiercely defends his friends. Whichever character you pick will be your avatar. But interestingly, the other still exists in the story as a major NPC ally, who you will be able to romance. This is a first in the series. The two main characters coexist in the narrative, adding a new layer of character dynamics. As an Earth Dancer, your goal is to fight back the spreading blight, a force infecting the land, and ultimately find and revive Azuma's guardian deities. Azuma is home to at least 5 known gods, each embodying a season or element. For example, Ulalaka, the gentle goddess of spring; Matsuri, the carefree god of summer; Karuma, a cool-headed god of autumn; Fubuki, the warm-hearted wolf god of winter; and Kanata, the god of light and the heavens. These deities have been dormant since the collapse, and part of your journey will involve restoring them to their former glory. The Eastern aesthetic and mythological influences are front and center here, giving Guardians of Azuma a distinct flavor compared to the earlier titles. Expect Shinto-inspired elements, traditional festivals and folklore, creatures woven into narrative. It's a fresh cultural backdrop that sets Azuma apart from places like the Norad Kingdom, the setting in Rune Factory 1 and 2. Much more Eastern fantasy, the other ones are more Western fantasy. Alright, let's get on to gameplay now. The developers have emphasized that Guardians of Azuma retains the series' beloved action RPG plus life sim gameplay. It's reimagined and expanded with new twists. Let's break down the confirmed features. First of all, the farming and building features. Farming is still a core activity. You'll plant and harvest crops, raise animals, presumably monster livestock, as per the series tradition, and cook and craft with your yields. However, Azuma ups the ante by letting you manage more than just one farm plot. You actually rebuild entire villages. There are 4 seasonal themed villages across Azuma: spring, summer, winter, and autumn, each in disrepair due to the blight. As you progress, you will restore these villages from the ground up, essentially playing a city builder in addition to farmer. Early previews show that you clear out debris and cursed roots of blight from the land, then freely place buildings, fields, waterways, even terrain features within designated areas. Basically your farms around the world. You can enter Village Builder mode that gives an overhead view and grid, making it easy to design the town layout to your liking. For example, each building serves a purpose. A carpenter lets you craft more structures and decorations, and a bakery might produce food items. Once a building is placed, you'll assign villagers to run it. As people return, unassigned villagers will even help out around automatically, pitching in with tasks like watering crops or mining resources on their own. This gives a wonderful sense of community as your village comes back to life and gives you more time to explore where you don't have to really worry about crops as much. And building up each village isn't just cosmetic. Reviving the towns also pleases the gods, restoring vitality to the land. In fact, the key goal is to entice people to return and even resurrect the season gods associated with each location. This is a big departure from Rune Factory 1 and Rune Factory 2, where the towns are mostly pre-built and static. Here, you get to be a city planner, literally reconstructing civilization after a calamity, which adds a new layer of player agency beyond tending your farm. It really does take a village. Now let's get on to the sacred treasures and earth dance abilities. To help with both farming and fighting, your protagonist wields special magical tools called sacred treasures. These sacred artifacts are gifts from the gods and tie into your identity as an earth dancer. They're not just weapons, they have dual purposes. For example, the sacred fan can be waved to dispel cursed blighted areas in a village, so cleansing those dead patches of land. The sacred drum can play a rhythm to accelerate crop growth, which just seems so overpowered. And the sacred sword isn't just for slashing weeds, it actually lets you harvest an entire field of crops in one swing, reaping multiple plants at once. These tools make your farming life much more efficient, obviously. One preview noted how intuitive and satisfying it was to speed grow and then mass harvest crops, greatly reducing the monotony of farm work. I've looked at, so I haven't got an early copy myself, so this is only speculation from other people's gameplay and what I've seen through developer gameplay. This streamlining really shows the devs' intent to lessen some of the built-in repetitiveness of farming games. As an earth dancer, you'll also be able to perform mystical dances to channel power. According to the official site, dancing can, quote-unquote, make flowers bloom on dead trees, unleash powerful attacks on enemies, and even heal your comrades. It sounds like a mix of magical field restoration and combat buffs. You might imagine doing a ritual dance in a corrupted area to purify it, or busting a move mid-battle to trigger a special AoE attack or a party heal. I don't know. The dancing thing kind of throws me off, to be honest with you. I have no idea what direction that's going to go. I assume it's going to be like your spells in the game, or skills like you see from Rune Factory 2. For the combat and exploration of the game, when you venture outside the village safe zones, get ready to face plenty of monsters. Combat in Guardians of Azuma is real-time action RPG fare, very much like recent entries. You can equip a variety of weapons, swords, spears, axes, hammers, and new weapon types like a bow and throwable talismans. The addition of dedicated ranged weapons like the bow is exciting because you can freely switch between melee and ranged combat on the fly. The talisman weapon is also new. It can function like a magical charm or boomerang type tool. It just adds more depth to the action RPG gameplay overall. There's also a special attack system tied to the sacred treasures. As an earth dancer, you can spend some energy to activate the treasure's power for a big move, like a high damage attack with sacred sword, or presumably an elemental burst with other treasures. From what preview said and what it looks like in the videos I've seen, combat is going to be fast and fluid. Maybe a little too easy if I'm being honest with you, but what I know from Rune Factory 1 and 2, the bosses are not easy. So I have high expectations that this game may have simple combat, fast, fluid, simple, like most real-time action RPGs do. There's not much depth you can get from an action RPG because it is just going to be button mashing at the end of the day. But the bosses are something that I really look forward to. And you're not going to be fighting alone either. Guardians of Azuma allows you to have a party of up to 4 characters, the protagonist and 3 allies. Allies can be townspeople you've befriended. It looks like tamed monsters as well can be in your team, although I haven't seen video footage of that. It's just a likely assumption based on the other Rune Factory games I've played. Now, maybe the most important part of the game, relationships and romance. Of course, what would Rune Factory be without these town friendships and romances? Guardians of Azuma proudly continues the tradition of letting you befriend villagers and pursue love interests, with some much appreciated expansions to the formula. First off, whether you play as Kaguya or Subaru, you are not limited to who you can romance. You can freely court any of Azuma's eligible singles, regardless of the protagonist's gender. That's an important one with this one. If you are a boy, you can romance any boys or girls. If you are a girl, you can romance the boys and the girls. In other words, the pool of romance candidates is available to you in full. In fact, even the other protagonist you didn't choose is an eligible candidate. As I looked at for information on this game online, I know this was something fans were very, very excited about, and I am too. This is really good. The romance system has gotten some UI and interaction upgrades. The games will mark characters on your map who you can undertake quests or quote-unquote dates with, which helps in planning your daily social rounds. You'll increase bond levels with characters through these usual activities, talking, gifting, and participating in their favorite hobbies. Pretty standard for farm sim romances, but now there are also conversation topics you can choose from to tailor your interactions. One of the previews I was watching described being given 4 types of dialogue options during the chat, letting the player pick a tone or subject, which can deepen the relationship if you choose wisely. So it's going to be like it's going to be more similar to a Persona game, where in Persona 3 Reloaded, you had to choose between different options. If you chose the wrong one, the relationship status would go down. If you chose the right one, it would go up. If you chose the best one, it would go up exponentially. There are special heart-to-heart events that play out like dates. These scenes are fully 3D cinematic scenes with the ability to rotate the camera freely as you talk, adding a nice immersion and touch when getting to know your partner. And yes, the game is fully voiced in both English and Japanese for these story scenes, making the romantic moments and also the entire story much more engaging. And fear not, if you successfully woo someone, marriage is still on the table, and even starting a family. It's confirmed that you can get a marriage and have a child with your chosen partner in the game. There was one Twitter post that gave silhouettes of the children, and it also said the children will have characteristics similar to their mother and the father. I do not know yet if you're going to be playing as the kid at some point in the story, or if you're how many generations this one's going to go. I did not find any details on that online, but I assume we're going to know that right when the game comes out, because that is going to be a huge deal if the second half of the game is played by the child, like in Rune Factory 2. Guardians Azuma is set to launch globally on June 5th, 2025 on Nintendo Switch, and it's one of the very first titles on Nintendo's next-gen console, Nintendo Switch 2, as well as PC via Steam. It'll be simultaneously worldwide released, so it's released in Japan and in the States on the same day. If you're planning to upgrade to the new Nintendo hardware, know that the Switch 2 version will have some enhanced higher resolution graphics, smoother frame rates, and even support for the new Joy-Con 2 controller's mouse-like pointer functionality to make the village building interface easier. For those sticking with the current Switch like me, the game will still run there and the developers have an upgrade plan. Pre-order buyers on Switch 1 can get an upgrade pack to the Switch 2 edition later, so you won't have to purchase the game twice, which is very, very nice. Marvelous is offering a couple of special editions too. There's an Earth Dancer edition with a custom box and 2-disc soundtrack, 56 tracks in total, a 160-page art book, an Azuma-themed collectible fan, a cute Woolby plush keychain. Woolby is your fluffy sheep sidekick, plus some DLC costume packs. It's a pretty sweet bundle for diehard fans who want physical goodies. And speaking of DLC, one particularly fun piece of news is there'll be a crossover DLC where Sukuna from Sukuna's Rice and Ruin appears in the game as an interactable NPC. That's actually crazy. That's really cool. Sukuna will have her own house, grow rice crops, and even join your party in battle. That is really cool. I enjoy that a lot. I hope there's more collabs like this after release. I love collabs like these. As we count down the months to June 5th, 2025, one thing is clear. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is poised to be a landmark title in the franchise. It's honoring its roots while branching out in a bold new direction with its Eastern-inspired world and gameplay innovations. Whether you're a DS-era veteran who grew turnips with Raguna, or an adventurer curious about what this quirky farm and fight genre is all about, Guardians of Azuma promises an adventure like no other, one filled with hardy crops, fearsome monsters, festive fireworks, and heartfelt connections. I am very excited for this game, and I'm excited to embrace the power of my inner Earth Dancer. The Guardians are waiting, and the future of Azuma is in our hands. The adventure of a new world awaits. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.